Good morning and welcome back into NFL Daily. I am Tom, and we're breaking down the AFC Playoff Picture entering Week 14 with two teams having already clinched their playoff spots. The Kansas City Chiefs have locked up at least the 7 seed. The Buffalo Bills, by virtue of winning the AFC East, have locked up at least the number 4 seed. Now, we'll run in-depth on the AFC Playoff Picture on today's show. We did the NFC Playoff Picture yesterday. Reason being, the NFC didn't have any games on Monday Night Football. That was AFC Broncos and Browns. What a wonky, wild, crazy game that ended up being. So if you've enjoyed our NFL Playoff Picture videos and you want to go check out the NFC one, it's on the channel. Make sure you guys are subscribed. We'll do this each week for you guys, breaking down the playoff picture. If not 2 videos, at least 1 per week. Hit that sub button for free so you don't miss out. There's some pretty clear-cut contenders in the AFC. Let's begin with the number 1 seed. They can't keep getting away with this, right? That all the Chiefs do are win crazy one-score games that maybe they shouldn't win. Blocked field goal wins them a game. Out of bounds or out touchdown ruled out by that much in Week 1. The bad snap because the right guard said snap it and the center snapped and the quarterback wasn't ready. They beat the Raiders 19-17. They've clinched at least the number 7 seed at minimum. Now they play the Chargers this week in what could be a fantastic game on Sunday Night Football. Now the schedule gets tough. Browns, Texans, Steelers, Broncos. They play in 4 playoff teams down the stretch here. The Chiefs clinched the number 6 seed. I hate doing ties, but it's a very easy tie scenario, so I'll include it. They clinched that with a tie versus the Chargers. They lock up the AFC West, and by virtue, at least the number 4 seed, with a win against the Chargers. Now, they can't clinch 3 or higher. In fact, no NFL teams can this week in the AFC. It's going to stay that way. But the Chiefs have the, as weird as this sounds, the only clinching scenarios this week for the AFC, because the Bills have also already clinched a playoff spot. They locked up the AFC East with the very fun Josh Allen game against the Niners for 10. They own at least the number 4 seed. Kind of some tricky games here down the stretch. At LA, a potential playoff team. Lions, a playoff team. Patriots, Jets, Patriots, though, to wrap up the regular season. So a couple good tests here. Week 14, Week 15, then should be 3 easy wins. Or maybe they're in with Week 18 and they're playing the backups anyway. Who gets the number 1 seed in the AFC? It'll be the pinned comments on today's show. Bills have the tiebreaker over KC, but don't control their own destiny, thanks to having one more loss there. Who gets that number 1 seed? Let me know at the pinned comments, which the ad comes here on YouTube. Pittsburgh, how about the turn back? That was actually, I'll say this, I think that was the best game I've seen Russell Wilson play since like 2020. The Bengals defense is terrible, but still, it's a huge win. They now get a revenge game against the Browns before really 3 very challenging games in a row. Eagles, Baltimore, Kansas City. But with where Pittsburgh currently sits at 9-3, although they cannot clinch a playoff spot this week because the Colts are still technically alive and they're on bye and there's some weirdness there, they are all but assured of a playoff spot. They should have some clinching scenarios when we do this video next week. The Texans entering their bye in Week 4. I'm a little bit worried about them. They almost let Mac Jones come back and win that game. The offense just looks disjointed far too frequently. Maybe the bye week they can make some adjustments, get some stuff figured out. Some tough games, though, down the stretch here. KC, Baltimore, Tennessee. They've got a 97% win probability, or playoff probability, which they should be able to take care of business and not have anything too crazy happen. Of note, with a combined 5 points over the Colts in their 2 wins, they have all the tiebreakers they could need. So Houston missing the postseason would require a tremendous collapse that seems, frankly, profoundly unlikely. Part of the reason why there are so many teams that can't clinch this week is a lot of them are on bye. The one that's not is the Chargers. Again, they play the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. They won that game because Kirk Cousins threw all those interceptions against the Falcons, but a win is a win. They could go get another one against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. Then Tampa, Denver, New England, and Las Vegas to wrap up the remainder of the season. That Tampa game could be very critical. Frankly, if you get to 10 wins, you're going to make the AFC playoff race. I don't think the Colts are going to go undefeated down the stretch. So with the Patriots and Chargers to wrap up the season, you can see why the Chargers have such a high playoff probability. Today's show is made possible by PrizePicks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. It's available in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. It's the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets hurt. If the player goes down the first half, doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup live. Not just pro football, college football, also available on PrizePicks. My boy Jack Lottery, he's been on a bit of a heater, so I'm going to trust him, even though I think he's going wild on this one. Got Quinn Ewers, more than passing yards. Travion Wisner, less than rushing yards. Carson Beck, more than 2.5 passing touchdowns, which would be a nice redemption game for a not great year from Beck, by the way. Download the app today over at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Let's go to the Baltimore Ravens. Tough loss against the Philadelphia Eagles. They get their bye. That's going to be good for them after a tough loss against Philly. A couple weeks ago, a bad loss against the Steelers. They're 8-5. Their playoff probability did drop 3% to 96%. Obviously can't clinch this week. But Giants in week 15. That'll get them to 9 wins. Pittsburgh, Houston, not the easiest games. Browns will be out of it by then. So again, you can see why you just got to get to 10 wins and why it's so likely all these teams end up making it. Now, Denver is also in a really good spot. They are as well 8-5 after what a wild game that was. Also, shout out Denver Fantasy for defense for getting me my fantasy win this week with the late pick 6. I won by 4. Anyway, no one cares. Bye this week. Pivotal game against the Colts in week 15. Now, the Colts are also on bye. There's extra prep time there. Indy 6-7. A loss would drop them to 6-8. It would then put Denver at 9-5 and would really set them up for like, hey, we're about to be a playoff team. Chargers, Bengals, and Chiefs against the Bengals team that's kind of out of it. That Chargers game has massive seeding implications too, by the way. Denver looks a lot better than I thought they were going to, and so does Bo Nix, by the way. I think some of the deep ball efficiency can be ironed out, but he's actually hitting way more deep balls than he ever really did at Oregon, which I think is a big deal. So are you buying the Broncos this year as a real playoff threat? Now, they're obviously, I think, going to be in the postseason, but are you buying them as a playoff threat, like to make a bit of a run? Why for yes and for no? Go vote in the comment section of today's show. The rule is if you have at least a 5% chance, all the numbers you see are on the Next Gen Stats playoff probability. If you have at least a 10% chance, or 5% chance, we will talk about you. That means 2 teams we'll talk about today. Indianapolis, they're on the bye. Denver, then Tennessee, Giants, and Jacksonville. Now, I say I don't think they're going to go undefeated down the stretch because I don't think they'll beat Denver. But all of a sudden, if they do, they'll be favored against Tennessee. They'll be favored against the Giants. They'll be favored against the Jags. It comes down to week 15. You beat Denver, you're right back in the mix. Now, at that point, they still don't control their own destiny because they're several games back, but I'm saying there's a chance. I said it like in October. I thought Indy was the most obvious 500 team in the NFL. I feel like this team's going to end up going like 9-8 or 8-9. And I still feel like that's going to end up being the case in Indy. The Dolphins have a 10% chance at making the postseason. That loss against Green Bay really hurt them. They have to win out and get a bunch of help. Jets, Texans, Niners, Browns, Jets. It's not impossible. It's not. But you really could have used that win over the Packers to put you at 6-6, and we'd be talking about you as maybe, 20% playoff possibilities right there, if not a little bit higher. It's the loss of Tua kind of sunk that team, and I don't know if the offense has ever kind of adjusted themselves since then. Miami is a good answer for who is the biggest disappointment in the AFC this year. But if you go by the preseason Super Bowl odds, it's the Bengals, who we'll mention briefly here, because that offense is a top 5 offense, and the defense is bottom 2 with crayon-eating tendencies. Who is the number 1 disappointment in the AFC this year? Let me know in the comments of today's show. Apologies to teams that are technically alive, but also not really. Bengals, 2% chance. Even if they win out, they need so much help. And they also need to beat Denver and then they need to lose out. It's just not going to happen. They're 1-7 in one-score games this year. Can't win games doing that. The Browns, Titans, and Jets, all at 3-9, are not technically out yet. They've got elimination scenarios coming down the pipeline here. But they've got a less than 1% chance. The Patriots, Jags, and Raiders, all out of the playoff race.